Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. Before we get started, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, please subscribe to my channel. Please give this video a thumbs up and please subscribe. And also, if you're listening to this on any audio platforms, please give me a 5-star review. Download this episode and all the episodes after this conversation. I am thrilled to welcome this actor. As of this recording, has over 25,100 Instagram followers. And then he's also starring in Finding Faith, My Nanny Stole My Life, and coming this summer, Twelfth Thunder, and Somewhere in Montana. So please help me welcome Jonathan Stoddard to the podcast.
And the crowd goes wild. How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Jonathan, it's a privilege to have you here. Thank you so much for taking time in your schedule to talk with me today. I really appreciate it.
Likewise. Thank you.
All right. So when did you get started and interested in performing? And how did that passion evolve into desire to pursue a career in the entertainment industry?
I grew up doing a lot of theater, and my parents being psychiatrists and always interested in human behavior, and I was the youngest of four. So a lot of the pressure was off when I was growing up, and it made me really fascinated with people, especially having siblings. I was always playing. I was always in this fun, imaginative, active world. And so even though I went to college for other things, even though I went to culinary school and there was a lot of other stuff that I did before acting. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's nothing quite like this industry. And if you can't do anything else, this is where you need to be. So I just kind of dug my heels in and did it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I got to say this. I'm a fellow theater kid, 5th grade and 12th grade. So woohoo.
Yeah.
But however, unlike me, unfortunately, I just stuck out after I got my after I got my high school degree. I'm like, okay, got to focus on my broadcast news ambitions in my journalism degree. But however, you stuck with theater, and you performed on various theatrical productions, including Cabaret, where you played the Emcee, West Side Story, where you played Tony, and Twelfth Night, which was a play that one of my final plays I did in high school at Blue Valley Northwest as Orsino. So how have these experiences helped you strengthen your skills as an actor?
I mean, there's nothing like the theater. From being able to break down scripts, scenes, work them out, flush them out, the amount of effort and time that goes into daily rehearsals, weekly rehearsals, on and off stage, everything, just to be able to go up and put it on stage as perfectly as you can. There is nothing quite like that. Even the film industry, it's a completely different kind of medium. But I will say the ability to hone skills and develop them and learn all of those on the stage, and then bring a lot of that work ethic from the rehearsal to breaking characters down, learning how to dive deeper into it, feeling it out. That has been invaluable. And of course, as mentioned, going from musicals to Shakespeare, it's been transformative. So I'm really grateful for those years of my life.
That's amazing. So I got to say this. I played Sir Andrew when I did Twelfth Night. And
Nice.
I accidentally cut my Violet. Sword scene. I went too much in the Revenge of the Sith. I said it to Revenge of the Sith instead of Shakespeare classic story.
Oh, no. I'm assuming everything was okay.
Everything was fine. Everything is fine. So let's go and take a little sidestep to Genoa City. So you had the opportunity to appear as the young John Abbott on several episodes of the legendary CBS soap opera, The Young and the Restless. So what did it mean to you to be part of this iconic soap and stepping into the younger version of this classic character?
I mean, that was a life-changing thing for me, especially because it started off as an under 5. And they didn't have my character more so fleshed out, which was Jerry Douglas's character back in the 1970s. And originally it was just supposed to be a quick flashback. And then as it continued to develop and they kept inviting my character back, I really started understanding the scope of Jerry's legacy, of what it meant on the show. Because growing up, Like I tuned in a little bit, but I wasn't necessarily the kid that was, going to after school sports and then coming home and watching soap operas. So I knew that it was a big deal, and it was huge for me just as an actor at the time. To book an under 5 was life-changing for me. But then really starting to do a deep dive into John Abbott and the family dynamic and the journey of where the Young and the Restless has come from and where they're going. I mean, it's still such an incredible experience when I look back on it.
That's incredible. I gotta say, I secretly watched all my children in General Hospital, so I admit that. So I have a few things at Pine Valley and Port Charles, but however, I'd rather stay in the safety of Pine Valley than stay in Port Charles, where you don't know how many gangsters and mobsters are going to try to kill me off.
Right.
Alrighty. So, what have been some of the challenges that you face staying in this entertainment industry, and how have you overcome those obstacles?
The industry is interesting. I mean, everyone has, those desires or the wants to be able to. It's the idea, especially in today's world, where it's great. I'm going to be the lead of a movie, and then that's going to change the trajectory of everything. Then from there, I'm going to be financially stable. Everything's going to be wonderful. Someone's going to watch the movie and reach out, and then instantly life is going to change, and it's going to be great. And I can't tell you how humbling of an industry this is, not only for the times that you get to be the lead, but then all the times after. And I remember watching an interesting roundtable talk with Tom Hanks and Al Pacino and De Niro and everyone. And I think it's one of them was talking, and he was like, "This too shall pass." Not only the bad times, like when you're not working, when you're trying to get that next job, this too shall pass. But then when you're on top of the world, this too shall pass. And one of the hardest things in the industry for me has been the interesting ups and downs, the journey of being on top of the world and getting stopped on the streets because people are seeing the rom-coms or the Christmas movies or finding faith in the dramas and stuff like that, to then coming home and great. Humility. I have to go after my next job. I still have to nurture the relationships. I still have to hit the pavement. So that juxtaposition is very interesting, and it's very humbling and very eye-opening.
That's incredible, because I think, in all honesty, the three hardest industries, I think, in my opinion, are the entering stay in, or like the political industry, the financial industry, and our industry, the entertainment and media industries.
Yeah. Very much so, yeah.
Because the thing is, it is definitely tough, because I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity, that this conversation did not happen. I've spent since 2011 working on my blog, Jake's Take, and then now we're in the celebration of the 5th anniversary of the podcast. So it takes a long time to get stuff happen. And I applaud you and admire your climb.
Well, thank you very much. And likewise, to stay at it, to keep producing content, and whether that's movies, whether that's a podcast, because what's driving us is wanting to contribute to the marketplace, wanting to have our voice mean something beyond just add to the noise. We're trying to add value or create a feeling or take someone on a journey, educate them, inform them, all of that. And so the feeling is coming from a great place, and it is surprisingly difficult to compete in the world in terms of adding value to an industry in which there's just so much going on. And so, I mean, likewise, doing this podcast as an example is phenomenal. It's an incredible accomplishment.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And it's a privilege to have you here.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you.
Alrighty, so we got to talk about some of your previous projects. So before as I was preparing to have you on, I noticed that you have worked with not one but two of my previous guests.
Who?
I'm going to start with this one, because we got to talk about The Prince and the Pauper Christmas, Alexander, where you shared a screen with one of my friends, Robert Palmer Watkins.
Oh yeah, he's wonderful. He's great.
So what was that? What was it like? Because I know it's an iconic Christmas movie. So how did you get involved in the project, and how has it evolved, and how has the fan base evolved since its release?
So that was a really fun project, because I play two characters, right? The Prince and the Pauper. And we started doing rehearsals and kind of figuring things out as we were getting ready to film. And they had a gentleman in mind, because someone has to double as we shoot the scenes. We're shooting over someone's shoulder on my coverage, and then we have to change clothes and do the reverse. So then they're shooting over his coverage here. And something happened with the original gentleman that they had picked. And so Brittany Underwood, who plays my female lead, she was like, guys, I have someone. He's a dear friend of mine. He's a brilliant, talented actor. Let me call him and see if he's available. He's about John's measurements and everything. And so she calls Robert. He was like, yeah, he was totally game. He was amazing. He showed up to set, rocked it. And basically he and I had to go through, choreograph every single scene, block out the scenes, which is where I'm going and how I'm saying what and all that kind of stuff, and then switch. And then he would have to say the lines as well. So he was pulling double duty. And I mean, we just had an absolute blast. We were all friends going into it. And then throughout it just became significantly closer. I mean, it was a phenomenal bonding experience, to say the least. But yeah, Robert is great. He is really wonderful.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we might have to talk, while we're on the subject of royalty. You have been on a part of the Royal Christmas franchise and shared the screen with my friend Anna Marie Dobbins.
Oh, she's wonderful. She's great. I am a huge fan of her. She's such a brilliant actress.
She is. So were you surprised that the Royal Christmas has evolved into this franchise?
It's well, yes. Yeah, I was very surprised with everything that's been going on with it, because it's such a, they're not necessarily fluid in the sense that they're the same characters. So, you know, whether it's Prince John or Prince William, you know, I'm playing a different prince from a different place every single time. Yet they're all part of this Royal Christmas concept. And I'm playing a British prince, but yet trying to add in slight differences and characteristics to not just be the same print. Like, it's just interesting. It's just been really fun to see how it all evolves. But it's been really great at the same time. I mean, we're going to be shooting another one later this year. It's really fun.
Congratulations on that. And who knows, maybe they might just have a Royal Christmas multiverse.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It might be challenging for you, might be challenging for you and Anna, but hey, it might stretch your acting muscles.
Very much so, yeah. But I will say she was such a joy to work with. She was my first, because I had played one other Prince before, and it was the same executive producer, which is how I got into the Prince idea or the Prince world, in which I played a con man pretending to be part of the royal family, not even a prince, just part of the royal family. And the executive producer called me later while I was on set, maybe 6 months later, and was like, hey, we have this movie, and I remember the British accent that you did for that one. Could you read for this one, which is A Royal Christmas on Ice? And then ended up booking that and working with Anna Marie, and she's just so professional and on point. There's nothing quite as comforting and reassuring as showing up and knowing that your co-star knows her lines, is just a joy to work with, can hold her own, and just rocks it with creative decisions and everything. And Anna is just a powerhouse of a talent. So we had a lot of fun.
That's amazing. I bet the fan base is going to be ecstatic when they finally get to watch the film.
Yes.
And who knows, they might have to do like a screening, back-to-back screening a special limited release of a Royal Christmas Marathon.
That would be a long, well, okay. So here's the interesting thing, especially coming up for this Christmas. Last Christmas, I had a couple new Christmas movies come out. And so I think in total, there were 5 Christmas movies that were playing. I've already shot 4 other ones. So going into this Christmas, this coming December, I think there's going to be somewhere, and I'm already scheduled to do another Christmas movie. So there should be somewhere around 10 Christmas movies, 5 new ones, some Prince, some not, some country, some like, and then, so Yeah, I'm gonna be everywhere on on all of these Christmas platforms. It's gonna be really interesting to see what happens.
Awesome, and I'm excited for you. But however, we got to leave the holidays and the royalty behind us because we got to talk about some of your other projects as well. So recently, you released Finding Faith. So can you
Yeah.
please describe to my audience the film?
So Finding Faith is, of course, it is faith-based, but something that was really spectacular about this movie was that it really explores like real kind of the realness and the rawness of humanity. And sometimes when I'm watching movies, it doesn't really touch on the truth of humanity, or it's glamorized in a certain kind of way. And something that was so powerful about Finding Faith is that it really does explore everything from just drifting apart um, uh, to deaths in the family, to challenges, to secrets being uncovered. And it really explores just how people are supposed to overcome that, and how using your faith to be able to do that, and the resistance that we may have. Like it's just an amazing movie. And when I read it on the script and when we did it, I was going through a lot of stuff at the time, and the script really jumped out at me. And when I watched the final product, like sometimes you watch the final product and there isn't really a link between the script and the final movie. But when I watched it, I was like, I had no idea it was going to turn out like that. This is really, really powerful and really impactful. And I rarely will get teary-eyed or cry at my own movies. And not even that, like, I wasn't crying at my scenes, but Ashley is just such a phenomenal actress. And we had John, and our cast was phenomenal. And yeah, it is. If you want something that's a tearjerker, but kind of leaves you in a wonderful space, but also takes you on a wild, wild ride, this is such a beautiful movie. It's such a beautiful movie. I recommend to everyone to watch it, no matter what.
Awesome, I'll check it out. Now we're going to go on from heartwarming to horrifying because you have several projects coming up, including My Nanny Stole My Life, that will be on Lifetime on May 16th, 2024. So how did you get involved with this project?
Well, so I will say I play a good guy in this, but it is a thriller because I don't always play the good guy in thrillers. But this one, I'm like a nice, sensitive husband kind of thing that's going through some stuff. Oh, here's actually some fun, interesting trivia. So Katerina, who plays my co-star in this, and it's basically struggling with some postpartum stuff, and how far postpartum can take someone. But like after having a child and everything, and some of the, there's real issues that can happen. But what's also really interesting about this movie is that there is a real threat happening simultaneously. And so she's juggling between losing control, like what's real, what's not, what's postpartum versus the deception and the stuff that's going on. It's totally wild. But here's the fun information, fun fact. One of my first rom-coms was a movie called The Beauty of Love. Katerina and I fall in love and in that movie. And so when we were filming it, we were like, wow, okay, so we had the meet cute, we fall in love like 2 years ago in this other movie. And now here we are doing this other one, which is a now thriller sequel, kind of. But it's kind of fun when you start combining, like you're talking about the cinematic universe, and it's just really fun. It's little things like that make us kind of like giddy and smile.
I gotta say, psychological thrillers really jump me out of my couch.
Yeah.
Makes me want to jump out of my couch or any sitting area because the thing is, they're on the same level as horror movies and supernatural films.
No, living inside your head, or when someone's able to mess with your head, it's the worst. It's awful.
Absolutely. So let's talk about a couple of projects that are coming later on in summer 2024. So let's talk about Solid Thunder.
Yes, sir. What would you like to know?
I would love to know about the story about that.
So the story follows Ted McGinley, who's brilliant, amazing, and so much fun to work with. Ted McGinley is a sheriff, and myself and Jack Lucarelli are bank robbers. And the opening of the film is he has captured us. We're in chains, and then we go on this adventure. And it's 18th century kind of horror acid western kind of thing. So it's a little Tarantino-ish. There's some fun, thrilling vibes. It's just a fun movie. But we have the whole, we have the hats, the carriages, horseback, 6-shooters. It's very classic in that sense. And then we end up running into a wagon full of women workers. Let's just call them that. And they leave the next morning, and one of them happens to be a girl that I fell in love with years ago, and then she and I parted ways. And then their wagon takes off because they're headed to San Francisco. And this band of dogmen end up killing everyone and taking the women, and one guy makes it back to where we were. And then Ted McGinley, as the sheriff, goes after them, and because it's the woman I love, I go with him. And so we all go, Jack Lucarelli, Brent, myself, we all kind of jump in and jump on horseback, and then we go after them. And it's a wild kind of ride. It's one of those movies that I think it's going to have a really cool, interesting impact. And no matter what, when you watch it, you have a good time. But it is a very fun, stylized movie. It's very cool.
That sounds amazing. And I got to say this. It must have been, I hope that it must have been easy for horses, because the thing is, with me, I've done horses 4 times in my life as a kid and as a young adult. And boy, it is tough when I'm like, please give me a horse that's not as shaky. Please give me a nice horse.
It's you never know, and you got to trust your wranglers and who they're going to show up with. And we had some interesting things happen because we had a lot of horses. And I will say that I've never worked with guns and horses before, and that was a whole new experience. It was totally wild. And some of these horses are so on point, they know action. Film horses, they know where their mark is. It's called patterning, where they're like, okay, we're going to walk up. Whoa, you stop them. And then you do that one more time. And then they're like, cool, good. Yeah, I got it. I know where I'm supposed to stop. I know when action is. I know when you're going to start saying your lines. And they'll actually listen to know, you can see their head turn as you're saying the lines back and forth. Because then they know, okay, now I need to go this way and leave the scene or whatever. I mean, I was like, oh my God, they're phenomenal. These horses, these animals are amazing. But yeah, we had so much fun, especially with our old get up and classic horseback riding. Oh, it was great.
Awesome. So the last film I want to talk about that's also coming out this summer is Somewhere in Montana. Now, is this another Western drama, or is this it sounds like from the title, and I could be assuming this as a Western romance.
So Somewhere in Montana, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a romance, but it is a very interesting script. So the birth of this script from Brandon Smith, he wanted to do a movie a long time ago, 2 decades ago or a decade and a half ago. And he had this idea for a movie, wanted to get Robert Downey Jr. And the insurance, because this was before Robert had kind of resurged and started doing Marvel and Iron Man and everything. And the insurance for it was so much because he was more of a liability at the time. And so the movie that Brandon wanted to make never got made. And so now fast forward years later, he decided, he was like, what if we basically brought a big movie star that had a questionable liability, but he was Hollywood's A-list. And what's the worst that could happen? And so Somewhere in Montana with Graham McTavish and Michelle Hurd, phenomenal cast. This is the exploration of a movie like film crew with a big A-list star, which happens to be I played that character. But how we go and we rent out this small ranch somewhere in Montana to finish our filming, and then it's kind of everything that happens there, from the good, the bad. There is some romance, but it's not the main part of the story. It's really more of a human piece and really touches on the drama and the beautiful. I mean, the landscapes are phenomenal. Montana is such a beautiful place to film in, but it really touches on like the heart and soul, not only of the land and the people and everything, but it's cool. It's very, very cool. We did a screening in Montana where we did 6 theaters, and all of the theaters were sold out.
That's amazing.
And yeah, I can't wait for it to get released. It's really good.
And it sounds like to me, when I'm hearing about this film, it reminds me about Tropic Thunder, but I could be a Western version of Tropic Thunder.
Well, Tropic Thunder is like brilliantly comedic and witty and like all this, and very, toes the line. Actually, it doesn't toe the line. It destroys the line for like PC and everything. We don't do any of that. So this is not a parody of itself. But yes, it is like it's out on the ranch. It's a bunch of, absurdity and some fun stuff. And it's good.
And I got to say, it's a great you got to work with Michelle Hurd. I loved her when they did Star Trek Picard. I just loved her. So I'm very excited to see what she brings to the table.
She's phenomenal. She's one of my dear friends. I absolutely love her.
Awesome. So we got to start winding down our conversation. So what is the best? What is the best social media app in your opinion that you like to interact with your fans and also your colleagues?
So the best app for me is Instagram, and the handle is @JohnStoddardOfficial, and there's no H in John, so just JON official, or John Stoddard official. Everything else is kind of great, but I'm very sparse on it, and it's hard to keep up with everything. So Instagram is the way to go for me.
Awesome. So Jonathan, in addition to your Instagram, where can my audience connect with you, find out more about your work on the website, and also, more importantly, where can they find Finding Faith?
So Finding Faith is on Great American Pure Flix, and that's available now. I mean, honestly, I think I was going through the list. There are probably like 4 movies that are going to get released this summer. There's actually one, I just remembered, it's called Valentine's Town. That's going to get released this summer too. And that's one that I think you're really going to enjoy. That's more of like a comedy kind of thing. But yeah, Finding Faith, you can find that on Great American Pure Flix. Otherwise, the best thing, because of multiple streaming platforms and for any of the other movies, even My Nanny Stole My Life, that's going to be airing on Lifetime Movie Network. Otherwise, Google is a girl's best friend now. Is it not Diamonds? I don't know. I think it's Google, and you can just search anything, and now you can just find out like what streaming platform do you have, and is it available on that platform. So there's a lot of options and access these days.
Alrighty, guys. So if you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast, visit our channels on Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Podchaser, Spotify, and Spreaker. Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And guys, want to find out who won The Masked Singer? What's going on with America's Got Talent? Want to find my podcast with Robert and with Anna Marie? Visit shake.com. Once again, shake.com. Jonathan, it was a pleasure talking with you. I had so much fun speaking with you, and thank you so much for taking time on your schedule to join me today.
Yeah, thank you very much. This was awesome. Thank you.
All righty, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, everybody, have a great one. Goodbye.